And I'm back. What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans Real Talk. My bad, y'all. I thought I hit the live button. I didn't even hit the live button fully. But what's going on? We are officially back. Before we jump into the show, I just want to say thank you to all the supporters for being patient with us these last couple of weeks. Some of you guys know. I just want to say thank you to all the supporters for being patient with us these last couple of weeks. Some of you guys know. I just want to. Well, it wouldn't be right if we didn't start this February.
Listen, he's a little rusty. He's not in game shape right now. He's a little rusty.
Exactly. But I just want to say thank you to the supporters. We took a week off. My pops passed away, so we had the funeral services and everything this past weekend. So I just want to take an extra week off. So big shout out to my bro Eric for bearing with me as well. And so, yo, man, I got to shout out to two of the supporters out really quick before we start to Hoop Baller Scoop and Imani. They've been rocking with us for a while now, but they always showing love and support, and they always checking in during the week, man, to see what time we gonna be recording, when we getting back to work. So I just want to shout you guys out before we jump into everything. Now, with that being said, let me introduce my co-host, my brother Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on?
What's really good, bro? First and foremost, you and I spoke offline and obviously personally because we know each other outside of just doing the show. So I'm happy that you're back. I know you had some things to attend to, and as I told you, I had you and your family in my thoughts and prayers. But I'm just so happy to get back to it with you, man, because I've been talking to myself for the last couple of weeks, and I needed someone to shout out to Will Gordon, because me and Will Gordon, we do our thing on Friday nights. But Hoop Baller School hit me up last week. I thought maybe we might be able to get a recording in. We didn't. I'm like, man, Trip got me out here talking to myself. I'm looking crazy in my house right now.
Facts. But we back better than ever, ready to go. Let me throw Dion Hope's page up. We were actually gonna start with the NBA. But then I seen that we had a couple of questions early on, some NFL questions. So I figured we might as well get the NFL stuff out of the way really quick since football season is officially over. Shout out to Dion Hoops page. And let me go back. Kevon, uh, what's the biggest reason the Chiefs won back-to-back titles? Um, I'm gonna say, and I think Eric can agree with me when I say this one. I don't think this is gonna be a reach. There's a guy plays quarterback, and his name is Patrick Mahomes. I'm gonna say that guy right there, especially when you look at the fact that I'm gonna go back uh two Super Bowls ago for the Chiefs, the two that they played in. Right. So they had Tyreek Hill, they had Travis Kelsey, a couple of other guys. They trade Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. Obviously, we know they retool. They get a lot younger on defense, fill out a lot of holes they had on the defensive side of the football, but offensively they got worse. It's gonna be real. Last season, now going back to last season's Super Bowl, when they beat the Eagles, their best receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, who is at best a number 2 wide receiver, which means that everybody after that is anywhere from third string to fifth string on the wide receiver list. And then we go into this season when the offense gets even worse because now their best wide receiver going into the season is probably a number 3 receiver. Even though I mean Rice started to come on a little bit later on in the season, but coming into the season, I don't think anyone would disagree with me. The Chiefs didn't even have a legit number 2 wide receiver going into this season. So, what is the common denominator? A guy that myself and a guy that Eric have told you all that has been on the Mount Rushmore for a couple of years now, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes without a doubt. As you mentioned, they lose Tyreek Hill when people question if they could even be a Super Bowl contender, and then they go on and go back to back. So that's the first part of that. The second reason for me that is Patrick Mahomes is all season we talked about the struggles of his wide receivers and the struggles for them being able to actually hold on to the ball. Pause. And yet Mahomes got better in the playoffs. He limited the turnovers. He didn't force passes to anybody. He didn't try to force the action. He was willing to allow his defense to do what they needed to do. And when the Chiefs offense needed a drive, Mahomes was the best version of himself in those moments. And I think that showed throughout the playoffs. The Dolphins game, early on, the offense didn't look great, but guess what? Mahomes didn't turn the ball over. We'll be fine, and we'll get the drives when we need them. Same thing against Buffalo. We start off slow. It's not looking great in Buffalo, but when we need to turn it up, we turn it up. And against Baltimore, they knew they were playing a very good team. What did Mahomes do? We come out on fire, and then we play clean the rest of the day. We let our defenses seal the win for us, but we did enough offensively. And then Super Bowl Sunday, they had 3 points at halftime. This is the third time in his career that he's been down double digits in the Super Bowl and found a way to win. They had 3 points at halftime. And when they needed to make the plays down the stretch, in spite of a rocky first half, Pacheco fumbling in the red zone, Mahomes throws a bad interception early in that game. But from that point on, Patrick Mahomes was clean the rest of the game, threw for over 300 yards, obviously the game-winning touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, very rare that you see a guy who can adjust to anything you throw at him. That's why he has 3 comeback victories in the Super Bowl. Because whatever you do early in the game, you cannot continue to show him because he will pick it apart. He will figure it out. 49ers learned the hard way for the second time in the league. This is something the league has known for quite some time. If you give him an opportunity, he will find a way to beat you.
Even the rest said, what was it? I was watching it was like a minute 16 seconds. Give Patrick Mahomes that much time.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows what's going on, man. Y'all, they let Patrick Mahomes get back into that game. And again, this is not a season where he has all of these great threats at wide receiver. It's been him, Kelsey, and Pacheco the majority of the season, and then maybe you might get one of the receivers to have a good game. Obviously, in the playoffs, Rice started to perform better. I think he got better every week. But again, man, you can't doubt the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and what he's been able to accomplish. And I do want to give credit to Andy Reid as well, because we can't leave Andy Reid out of this equation. What he's done with that team, with that offense. Losing Eric Bieniemy, and it's like they lose Eric Bieniemy and they lose weapons on offense, and they still win Super Bowls, and they still dominate second halves of football games as you're supposed to.
And I want to, and on that same regard, Trip, Andy Reid is a legendary coach. He will now be talked about in the same regard as the Bill Belichick's, the Bill Walsh, the Chuck Knowles, the all-time great head coaches. But Steve Spagnuolo deserves a lot of credit for what he has done as a defense coordinator in this league. He now has been the defense coordinator of 3 different Super Bowl teams, 4 actually, because all 3 were Kansas City and then 1 with the Giants. But last year, they had 6 rookies starting on defense, Trip. And in the second half of that game against the most explosive offensive football against Philadelphia, they slowed down that Eagles offense and they made the plays to win. And then on, 2 Sundays ago or a week and a half ago, they are basically getting outplayed all first half offensively and defensively. The Chiefs defense kept them in that game. There was no reason that the 49ers should have only had 10 points at halftime. Spagnuolo's defense did the job, continued to do the job, kept them in the game, and allowed Mahomes the opportunity to win that game late. Steve Spagnuolo was amazing during this playoff run. Look what he did to Lamar Jackson. Look at how he frustrated Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs in that game. His game plans were phenomenal throughout the playoffs.
Exactly. What more can you say? Let me go to Mike Merrill. Shout out to Mike Merrill. He says, how impressive was Purdy's performance? Purdy was good. He was really good. I'm not jumping on this because I heard people trying to throw him into the top 5 right now, not of all time, but just for right now. I'm not on that bandwagon. You're gonna have to do a lot more consistently for me to put you in as a top 5 quarterback. But I thought he played a really good game. It's just unfortunate in overtime they couldn't get into the end zone to really kind of keep this thing going, because if Patrick Mahomes is getting that football, they're going to bring it down the field and they're going to score a touchdown in that situation. But, I thought Brock Purdy played pretty well the entire game.
I thought Brock Purdy did exactly what he needed to do. He played a clean game. He didn't turn the ball over. He made some quality throws. He continued to get the Niners into some good play calls. And they just stumbled in the red zone and they missed some opportunities early in that game when they could have scored some points, like I mentioned, to really put the Chiefs behind the 8 ball, because this is not the Chiefs' offensive explosive offense that we know of the past. This is a more conservative offense that wants to stay balanced. And I think if the Niners could have gone up 14 points or 10 points, maybe the situation looks different. When they were up 10-0, it was looking like this could be trouble. And Kansas City gets that 3 points before the half, which was huge. because it allowed them to stay within their game plan and not have to force any offense. The Niners just can never deliver like the big haymaker to kind of put the Chiefs away. But in terms of Purdy, I thought Purdy did everything he needed to do. Christian McCaffrey didn't really go off the way we thought he was, but Purdy made some big throws. I know there was a tweet from Brandon Ayuk. He wasn't too happy about his lack of involvement. But when you consider that Kittle didn't really play well, Samuels missed some snaps with the injury, and Ayuk didn't go off, Purdy did what he needed to do to give the Niners a chance to win that game. He gave them the lead 2 separate times, Trip. They had the lead with under 2 minutes to go, and they had the lead in overtime. Their defense needed to come up with one stop. They couldn't do it.
Yeah. It is what it is. Let me go to Mike's next question too. Did Purdy do enough to silence the critics? Um, I would say so, but again, I'm not. I wasn't a Brock Purdy critic going into this game. I'm somebody who's been giving Brock Purdy his credit for what he's been able to do. Now, obviously, he does. I would probably say out of the majority of the quarterbacks in football, he does have the best assets around him when you look at Ayuk and Debo on both sides of the field, George Kittle, and of course Christian McCaffrey, who's the offensive player of the year this season. You got the best left tackle in football in Trent Williams, and then you also have arguably the best defense in football. I would say probably top 3, if anything, between them and the Ravens. And then I mean, obviously you have to boost the Chiefs defense up after what they just did in the playoffs. But you know what I'm saying? So I would say he did. Again, they didn't lose the game because of Brock Purdy. You know what I mean? I think they just got outplayed by the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, the second half showed that the Chiefs had been there before, been there, done that, and bought the T-shirt. So yeah, I would hope so. But again, I mean, you got critics and then you got haters too. So some people you just never gonna satisfy.
It's crazy that Brock Purdy has critics. He's a 7th round draft pick. Most teams don't expect anything from a 7th round draft pick, and most times 7th round draft pick doesn't even make the final roster. So the fact that he's your starting quarterback, I think should be enough to quote unquote silence the critics. But if we want to go a little deeper with that analysis, he's a 7th round quarterback that has led his team to an NFC Championship game and now a Super Bowl. If that doesn't silence your critics, I don't know what will. Because there are a lot of other quarterbacks in this league who don't even have those 2 feats on their resume, and they won't even be criticized. Kirk Cousins has never played in an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl, right? Justin Herbert has never done those things. So Lamar Jackson has only played in 1 AFC Championship game. And I'm not trying to compare these guys to Brock Purdy and say they're not better than Brock Purdy. They are. They are better quarterbacks. But what I'm saying is, how are we criticizing a guy who has done nothing but win? He has won games. And you're right, Trip. He's got a collection of talent that no one else in the league has. But we can't criticize him for having that collection of talent. He's not the GM. And he was never expected to be the quarterback. This was supposed to be Trey Lance's team. Brock Purdy stole the job, basically. He took over and never gave the job back. So we can't be mad at Brock Purdy. I thought he did everything he could do to win that game Sunday. He put them in position again to win that game multiple times. They needed their defense to make a stop. And if their defense makes one stop, it's a completely different conversation that we're having about the San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, and Brock Purdy.
Yeah. You can't fault him for that. And like you always say, you have to play who's in front of you and the teammates that you have. It is what it is. So, again, critics are he's gonna continue to get critics, but you said it best. I mean, how can you critique a 7th round draft pick who has now led a team to an NFC Championship game in a Super Bowl and back-to-back years, win, lose, or draw? It is what it is. Just don't be trying to put Brock Purdy in the top 5. He's not there yet. Not saying he can't get there, but he's just not there right now. Imani, I'm definitely gonna answer your question later. I appreciate that question. I'm gonna get to that a little bit later on in the program. Let's go to Pooh's question. Crazy, bro. Congrats, Taylor Swift, on the Super Bowl. Swift's brand value for NFL Chiefs estimated at $311.5 million. Yeah, I believe that's the number, Pooh. That's how much she made. This is actually this is like the one part about football season being over that I'm actually happy about, because I'm tired of seeing Taylor Swift every time I have to watch the Chiefs. You got to show Taylor Swift 5 to 15 times a damn game. It's ridiculous. I get it. Y'all trying to make as much money as possible. You want all the Swifties to be watching NFL football now, but enough is enough. I did like that she had brought Ice Spice there because you have to balance out, with guys like Taylor Swift's, some guys like Ice Spice.
Listen, I'm not mad at it at all. I guess to me, I'm such a diehard sports fan. I could care less if they show Taylor Swift after every snap because that's not the part of the game that matters to me. Everything that happens between the snap is what really matters to me. So, she brought a lot of money to the NFL this season and to the Kansas City Chiefs, and obviously Travis Kelce now is a super duper star, like we've probably never seen aside from Tom Brady, because only Tom Brady is the only other person I can think of that was dating someone of this level when he dated Giselle. But make no mistake,
that's still, and she was super famous too.
Right, and she was super famous, right? But and still, the only thing I don't like about this, like we keep making a narrative about Taylor Swift. The Kansas City Chiefs were already 2-time Super Bowl champions before Taylor Swift even came in the picture.
Exactly.
Like let's focus on what we're really talking about. We are witnessing greatness right now. Patrick Mahomes at 28 years old, 6 years as a starter in the NFL, has already been to 4 Super Bowls. He's won 3 of them. He's a 2-time league MVP. He's on path. Trip, I feel so prophetic when what we said last year when we put him on a Mount Rushmore even before he won that second Super Bowl, because we saw the greatness already. And that's the part that I think we should all really be appreciating. Like, we are witnessing something that is really, really rare. Tom Brady was not this good at 28 years old. Do not fool yourself. He was not this good at 28 years old. Patrick Mahomes is far ahead of anyone else at this point in their career.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I actually, because I was having this discussion with my cousin maybe like a week or two ago, and I was talking about, because I think this is Patrick Mahomes' 7th. What is his mom? 6th or 7th?
This is his 6th year as a starter. He's been in the league 7 years, but obviously his first year he didn't play at all. He backed up Alex Smith.
So if you compare his first 6 years to Tom Brady's first 6 years, the numbers are not even close.
Nope.
Not even close. And this is facts. You guys can go look it up. Look up how many yards both quarterbacks threw for. And again, this is not, Tom Brady is still in the era of in the quarterback era. So, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he played with Joe Namath and them where, the quarterbacks wasn't just throwing for 4,500 yards in their sleep. You know what I'm saying? So when you calculate the number of total passing yards, touchdown to interception ratio, it is not even close. And then, what Mahomes has done, I will say this, they do have similarities in their offense. Brady obviously had Gronk for a lot of that with, lower tier receivers surrounding him outside of Randy Moss. Now Patrick Mahomes just has Travis Kelce. Rest of them receivers, y'all can just stay home half the time. So they do have some similarities, but the numbers just don't compare. Patrick Mahomes is far ahead of where Tom Brady was at this point in his career. And can we mention that Tom Brady is now the first African American quarterback to win back-to-back Super Bowls?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. Can we say that about that brother right there?
Absolutely, we have to acknowledge that.
Because I
love to acknowledge that. And
as you still right,
of course, yes, it is. We got to acknowledge that. And as you mentioned, the numbers are not even close. Tom Brady is not even in the neighborhood. And to be fair, Patrick Mahomes did go to a team with an offensive-minded head coach in Andy Reid. But I thought Teddy Bruschi recently said it perfectly when the debate about could Mahomes be the GOAT. Teddy Bruschi, who was there for a majority of Tom Brady's time in New England and was already, one of the vets on that team when Brady took over as a quarterback, said it early on. He said in our first 3 Super Bowls, Tom was coached to not lose the game. Let the defense do what they need to do. You're going to make a couple plays, but we don't need you to be Peyton Manning out there. And these are Teddy Bruschi's words. This is what was really being said within that locker room. Brady's a good quarterback, but don't turn the ball over. Do not forget, Patrick Mahomes won MVP of the league his first year as a starting quarterback. He literally hit the ground running. Patrick Mahomes has been more than advertised. He has been phenomenal. And again, you will not find another quarterback in their first 6 years who has had the type of success that Mahomes has had individually and team success. Again, 4 Super Bowl appearances already, Trip. At 28 years old, he's already been to the same amount of Super Bowls as Peyton Manning, one less Super Bowl than John Elway, two more Super Bowls than Brett Favre, three more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers, more Super Bowls than Troy Aikman, more Super Bowls than Steve Young, same amount of Super Bowls as Joe Montana. Any great quarterback you want to throw out there, Mahomes' numbers not only match up, and in most cases, they exceed that quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is the real deal, and he's going to be the real deal for a very long time.
Exactly. And I still stand on this. That Super Bowl versus Tampa would have looked different if Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose two starting offensive linemen the week in the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. Again,
Absolutely.
it was gonna look a little bit different. Shout out to Justin Frisian. I hope I'm saying your name right, bro. Were the Chiefs disrespected this year? I'm not gonna say they were disrespected this year because I think we still have them as Super Bowl contenders, even with them not having a legitimate number 2 wide receiver this season. I think because of that, they were critiqued fairly. Everyone said that they needed to step that wide receiver game up, which is true. It's still true. It's just that when you have a quarterback as great as Patrick Mahomes, when you have guys, as great as a Travis Kelce, as good as Isaiah Pacheco has played this season, as far as the running game for them, you can do some spectacular things. But I don't even think they were disrespected this year because, like I said, everyone still had them as with the potential of being not only being in the Super Bowl but winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think they were disrespected because we had to evaluate them on a week-to-week basis. And at times this year, they struggled. At times, the offense didn't look good. And as I mentioned earlier, the wide receiver play was really bad for them. So I don't think we disrespected them. I think we evaluated them based on what we were watching. But come playoff time, I know I'd never bet against the Chiefs, and Trip never bet against the Chiefs. Aside from the Baltimore game, Trip never bet against the Chiefs. And I'm sure most of the people that support us and watch the show weren't really betting against the Chiefs either. So I wouldn't say it was disrespect. I think we just evaluated them based on what we saw.
Yeah, even when we had Raheem Brock on the week before the Super Bowl, the three of us had the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. So you know what I mean? Yeah. So it is what it is. Let me go to this one. Travis bumping Andy Reid. What was y'all initial thoughts? Nothing. Heat of the game. It's a Super Bowl. We trying to win the game. Emotions are flaring. Travis Kelce is already a super energetic alpha kind of a guy. That's the type of energy that hoorah. You know what I'm saying? He has that type of energy. So just in the moment of the game, I don't read nothing into that.
Yeah, I mean, it was inappropriate to bump the head coach, but the emotion displayed, I had no problem with that. Um, there was already talk about Travis Kelce standing up in front of the team Saturday night and giving an emotional speech about, the importance and the significance of this moment for them. And in the heat of battle and in those moments when, you're struggling a little bit and you know what's on the line, you're going to be emotional. So I'm okay with it. He came to play, he showed up, and I don't think it's any different than when we saw CeeDee Lamb yelling at Dak Prescott during their playoff game earlier this year. Receivers and tight ends, they're emotional guys, and to some people, they're viewed as prima donnas. But, again, it's the heat of the battle. It's a big moment.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. We're definitely going to get to all of the.
Hold on. I gotta address this because I see my name being called out. So I gotta hold on. First of all, in my defense, guys, now that we're out of NFL season, NBA obviously will be the primary talking point. But because the Friday Night Live centers around NFL picks and breaking down what's about to happen on Sunday, we do spend a lot more time on NFL than NBA. So I'm not flying through the topics, guys. Like I said, I get to the NFL stuff first because that's the primary focus, and then we get to the NBA. The second part of that is, like I said sometimes too, I be trying to get the show in before I go to work because what people don't realize is I got to be to work at 4 a.m. So when I'm starting at 9 o'clock, I'm trying to give you guys as much info and content before I got to shut it down for the night. But best believe, the NBA will be at the forefront of the Sanchez show moving forward. I saw my name being called out, so I got to defend myself.
Oh man! All right, I think we got like 2 more football questions anyway. Mike Merrill, Mahomes the best QB we've ever seen. Mahomes wins Super Bowl MVP. I I would say I'll say this because I'm not going to disrespect Tom Brady because he is the GOAT right now. I do feel like if there is going to be an NFL player who takes over the GOAT status from Tom Brady, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. We already mentioned earlier the numbers when you're comparing their first 6 seasons. Mahomes is ahead of Tom Brady, but again, that to get that GOAT title resume is a big part of that. And although I do believe he can exceed, basing this off of what we're seeing so far, he can exceed Tom Brady's resume. He still has to do it first. Because right now, yes, he does have 2 Super Bowls, but we could go to the rest of his career. He could not win another Super Bowl. We don't know just yet. And then that kind of takes away from the argument. But if we're just saying, if we're projecting and based off of what Patrick Mahomes has done up to this point in his career, I do believe if someone is going to replace Tom Brady as the GOAT, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes.
I agree. I think most talented quarterback we've ever seen is Patrick Mahomes already. That debate I think is put to bed. Best ever requires the totality of the resume, and so Mahomes still has a lot of work to do to close the gap on Brady. I don't think he needs to win 7 Super Bowls though to pass Tom Brady. I think if he can get into the neighborhood, if he gets to 4, 5 Super Bowls, I think he's well within reach of taking over GOAT status. He's got to get to at least 4. But right now, I think he's the second best quarterback of all time. I think this past win, Trip, I think you and I talked about before the Super Bowl. He wins this one. I put him ahead of Montana now at this point.
Yeah, because now he's got the win and the MVP to go along with it. So again, shout out to Patrick Mahomes. Kyrie, what's going on, man? Kyrie Thompson. Usher did the halftime show. How did he do to y'all? And where does it rank all time? Yeah, I don't know about all time. That's kind of I got to think back to a lot of Super Bowls all time. I honestly I thought I liked the halftime show a lot. I thought Usher did a great job. I at first when it first started, I was like, "Come on, Usher, you can't be on the dirt because a big part of your show is dancing, and you can't dance like that on the dirt." So I would kind of was like thrown off a bit by that. But then once he got onto the stage and he started going in, I'm like, I was he had her out there with him on the guitar. Is that Alex? I believe that's what it was, right? That was her on the guitar looking, looking she want to look, Alicia Keys out there. But I did like the performance a lot. But then when I saw him on the Breakfast Club talking about the performance, and I kind of understood a little bit more what he was doing with the wardrobe choices and how he was paying homage to different icons of R&B throughout the performance, it actually made the performance even better for me.
I thought it was very good performance. The only thing, since some of y'all was saying that I'll be flying by the NBA topics, was that Usher was flying by some of the songs. But I understand that his catalog is so extensive that he was trying to please all of his listeners and everybody who was watching. I thought it was a quality performance. Ranking all time is tough. I think in terms of the most recent ones, specifically those that Jay-Z has had a hand in Rock Nation, I don't think it was the best one. I still think the California show with Dre, Snoop, Eminem, and 50 is probably the best one that Rock Nation has put together. But the Usher performance was very good. Very good.
I'm going to see Hove before.
I don't know if Hove ever do it, man.
I don't know if he will either, but I would love to see Hove and Friends perform at the halftime show.
It would be amazing. We get a Hove and Friends, but I don't know. Again, that like Usher, this was the longest halftime show ever, and I think it was only like 13 minutes.
Yeah.
So like if you Hove, I don't know how much time do you need for the halftime show.
I don't know, but I got to see. All right, let's go. Let's get to the NBA, guys. Was the 2024 NBA All-Star game the worst ever? Is the All-Star game fixable? It was pretty bad. I will say that. I remember watching it, thinking it was pretty bad. And I hate saying this because I love the NBA so much, but they have to step All-Star weekend up as a whole. It's not even just a game anymore. It used to be, at least in the fourth quarter, from the start of the fourth quarter, it was lock up defense in the All-Star game. I didn't even see nobody really playing defense. I didn't really see nobody going hard on defense the entire game. So that was a little bit disappointing. They kind of gave it a little bit of juice when they first switched it over to the captains and team picking, because then it was like, all right, it's LeBron versus Giannis or KD or whoever, and we're picking teams and going at it. So that kind of gave it a little bit of a boost. Now they're back to the regular Eastern Western format. The only thing that I feel like at this would give the game a boost is they're gonna have to switch it to US versus international.
That would be interesting, but I don't know if the current um, format can be saved. Just there's not enough players who care. As you highlighted, Trip, in the past, yeah, we would see guys kind of go through the motions for the first 2.5 quarters, and then late in the third quarter, defense would pick up and the stars would take it personal. We don't even see that anymore. Um, they gotta change the format completely. Either go to something completely different, whether it's almost like a rec league type setting where it's like I'm picking my best five against your best five, or whether it's a 2 versus 2 on 2 type format, a 3-on-3 type tournament style. But the current edition of it just means nothing to the players. There's no incentive. There's nothing about this game that means anything for the rest of your season. And if you're a guy who's on a team who's trying to win, you're not trying to go crazy at the All-Star game and do anything that could jeopardize the rest of your season. Also, I think what's really changed the All-Star game too is player empowerment, because so many of these guys are friendly with each other and play on teams together, right? When you think about it, like Kevin Durant has had some of these guys as his teammates in other areas. Like they're not really going at each other. They're not attacking each other. In the past, we look forward to the All-Star game because that might be your only opportunity to see these stars play together. Now we see some of these guys play together, play against each other, second time that they've been teammates, whatever the case may be. And so nobody's really attacking the other guy. It's almost treated like I'm just trying to get some shots up and get a little work in. And that to me just doesn't work. And I think that's why it looks so bad right now.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. They got to try to do something, but I don't know if there's anything that they can do. Shout out to my main man Ron Charles Barkley on Kevin Durant. Kevin is a follower, not a leader. Is he correct? I don't know. Charles Barkley, I feel like he got a vendetta out against KD. I'm not gonna say he hasn't won a championship as a leader, but he was the leader in OKC. He was the leader in Brooklyn. He's the leader in Phoenix. I think the only place that he wasn't the leader was in Golden State, but he wasn't going to come there and be the leader because Steph was already established as the leader of that team. So no, I'm not going to say he's not a leader. He just has a championship as the leader of a team.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far as Barkley mentioned to call him a follower. I just don't think he's a leader in the way that's required to win in the NBA. You kind of have to be ruthless. You kind of have to understand that it's all about winning and it's not about friendships. And to me, Kevin Durant is far more concerned with friendships than being ruthless and trying to win. And that showed when he went to Brooklyn and the way they try to assemble that team. And it's kind of shown in Phoenix and the way they assemble in that team. He just doesn't have that mean streak in him. So I wouldn't call him a follower. He's just not ruthless enough to be what they want you to be as an NBA leader.
Yeah, I agree. So maybe who knows? Maybe this will be the season. Maybe Phoenix gets the chip this year, and then we're like, maybe Kevin Durant is the leader. We'll see. Let's go to Justin Frigion. The NBA dunk contest was horrible, yo. Jaylen Brown needs a lifetime ban. For sure. Which NBA stars do you want to be in the dunk contest? Let me say this right now. First of all, and I text you, Eric, during the game. I said the judges was trash. There's no way that Jaylen Brown's first round, that dunk he did in the first round was a 48 or was 48.8. There's no way. That was not the best dunk of the first round of the dunk contest. So that in itself, and then yeah, he should be banned for that fake ass wannabe D Brown, whatever the heck that was he did. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? So no, I'm sorry. Shout out to Mac McClung, back-to-back champ. He's the first back champ since Nate or since Dwight. Which one of them did it? I forget which one it was. But he's the first.
I think it's Nate.
Nate, right? Did it more recent. So yeah, first back-to-back champ since Nate. I thought Mac was pretty good. I like the catching it over Shaq's head, throwing it up a little bit, catching it. I like that one. I like his dunk in the final round. But everything else is mid right now. And it's tough to kind of revamp the dunk contest outside of that we see the dunk contest. And for me, I want to see John Morant, who obviously we weren't going to see this season because of the suspension and then him being injured for the season. Anthony Edwards, I would love to see him in the dunk contest. Zion, I would love to see Zion in the dunk contest. So that's three. And Donovan Mitchell. That's my who I would dunk contest.
Yeah, I agree with the names you mentioned. Zion are the first two that come to mind. Anthony Edwards. Um, the dunk contest is trash, and Jalen Brown was super trash in that. His whole performance was whack. Like you mentioned, Mac McClung, who's probably 6'3",
Yeah.
dunking over Shaq, like that's impressive. Jalen Brown is 6'7", and he's jumping over Kai Cenat, who's 5'3", 5'4", and then he was sitting down at that. Like,
or it should be the reverse of that. They should be. He should have been.
Like I mean, I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand the point of jumping over somebody who's sitting down. Like they're not. That doesn't create any like illusion of like, oh my god, like dunking over Shaq or when you dunk over taller guys is kind of you trying to recreate like an in-game moment. Dunking over somebody who's sitting on the court does nothing, and then it was a basic dunk, and then it was totally disrespectful to D Brown's, iconic dunk of covering his face because Jalen Brown didn't even start covering his face until he had already dunked the ball and was on his way down.
Yeah, and he wasn't even a good job at that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he was literally about to land when he decided to put his like it's almost like he remembered. Oh, I meant to do this too. It was trash. Everything about Jalen Brown's dunks were terrible. They were in-game dunks. Yeah. Those were just like regular in-game dunks. It wasn't nothing special about them.
The only thing that if you're jumping over somebody who's sitting, the only thing that can really, because at that point you're just jumping over somebody. There's no flair to it. If he had jumped over Kai Cenat, who was sitting down, but threw the ball through his legs in the air and then dunked it, I might have been like, okay. But you can't just jump over somebody who's freaking 5'7" and you 6'7" and think that's what I'm saying. That's something that you're gonna win a dunk contest.
Like I said, 5'7" is putting it generous because he's a shorter guy, but not only he's sitting down. It's not even like he jumped over him while he was standing there. He's sitting down.
It's even shorter.
Yeah, like it had like no effect, no impact at all. Like it was just the fact that we're gonna bring out somebody who's very popular on social media and dunk over them. But it was a very basic dunk.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what they're gonna do for that. Hoop Baller Scoop, what's up, man? Who will be the next face of the NBA after Curry, LeBron, and KD? And to me, it got to be more than your elite game too. It got to be a player that makes me spend my hard-earned money to see you play. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I'll give you two guys. Well, one of them obviously John Morant, but he definitely has to turn things around. Now I'm missing the whole season, like right, longer now see him, so he had to really kind of start building that brand back up. But I think Anthony Edwards can be the face of the NBA when these guys are gone. I think he's that talented. He's a high flyer, which always kind of gives you the boost when we're talking about faces of the league. When you're jumping out the gym, those guys tend to get the edge. He can hoop, man. He can really hoop. And if you look at how well Minnesota is playing this season, a lot of that is thanks to the continued elevation of Anthony Edwards' game.
Anthony Edwards for sure, but this is a bit of a loaded question, Trip, because those names that Hoop Baller Scoop is mentioning, those are champions. And only LeBron is really the only one that can say he became, quote unquote, the face of the league before he won a championship. Yeah. Curry and KD didn't get in that conversation until they won. So winning plays a major factor in all this. If you're winning, it's easier for the league to promote you. But with that being said, I think Anthony Edwards is on the cusp. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on the cusp. I mean, I'm really high on Shai. But then also, are we only talking American-born players or anyone? Because I kind of feel like Luka's in that discussion already. Luka's a guy who gets a lot of prime time slots. He showcased a lot through the league, and he's a guy that they're really trying to promote. So if we're talking throughout the league, I mean, there's no reason that Joker can't be the face of the league, because Joker might win his third MVP in 4 years right now. There's no reason that Giannis can't be the face of the league, because Giannis is already an NBA champion and 2-time MVP.
Giannis, yes. The problem that I have with Jokic is it's similar to Tim Duncan, right? When we're talking about all-time greats, but there's no flair, there's no pizzazz. Right. Remember, one thing that Hoopballer said in that comment is it got to be a player that makes me spend my hard-earned money to see you play. I mean, is Jokic really a guy that you like, yo, Joker's in town, we got to go see him? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if he's that guy. I know he's respected. Like, we all respect Jokic. But as far as, I just don't, it's a boring style of excellent elite basketball.
I wouldn't call it boring. I mean, it's not high flying. It's not explosive, right? Like everything is very methodical with them. But I think if you're a fan of basketball, you will always appreciate Jokic's game, because he does everything. Like, for a 7-footer to be able to bring the ball up and initiate offense, and then I can shoot, I can show you the low post move, I can pass out of the double team, I can do all these other things that if you're a fan of basketball, you enjoy watching him play. Now, if you're talking about, I'm going to the game and I want to be entertained, then without a doubt it's Anthony Edwards, because he's the one guy that can give you the total package of dunks and skill. He's the guy that he might give you 2 highlight dunks tonight, but he also has the potential to go for 45 tonight too if he's clicking. So if that's what you're looking for, yes, it's Anthony Edwards.
Listen, we gave y'all a couple of choices. Let me go to hype question. Should LeBron James have paired with Steph Curry?
I was waiting for this question.
Maybe, but he's not going to want to do it in Golden State, which is why he said he wasn't going nowhere in the trade to Golden State. It is what it is. I'm sure, I think Steph would be the most impactful and the greatest teammate that LeBron has ever played with, but I didn't think it was going to happen in Golden State if it happened.
Yeah, it's never was going to happen in Golden State. LeBron is very calculated. LeBron is very smart about the history of basketball. And the last thing he's going to do is help increase Steph's legacy. Him and Steph have the same amount of rings. There's no way he's going to go there and help Steph get another ring.
In Golden State.
In Golden State. It's not going to happen.
Steph's team to do it.
Yeah,
now,
right.
If Steph came to the Lakers, then that's different. Because then it's like,
do it.
Yeah, I'm saying. So it's like then you came to Bron's team. Bron is still going to be the leader of that team. If LeBron goes to Golden State,
it's right.
So
right, and that leads right into my next point. Bron, again, as I mentioned, very calculated, deep historian of the game. He saw and continues to see the criticism that Kevin Durant got for winning in Golden State, and Bron himself took criticism for winning in Miami. And the last thing Bron will do to his own legacy is go to Golden State, win, and then people discount that he won and turn it into, well, you had to go to Steph's team to win.
Exactly.
So Bron was never going to Golden State, and I don't think he ever even really thought about it. I think he thought about the overall landscape, and I think he thought about how great it might be to play with Steph. But he also understood that if I go to Golden State, this is a lose-lose for me. And let's also not forget this. Bron, because he has been the best player on every team he's played on, he has been able to control the narrative, because when things don't go his way, Bron doesn't really get the blame. A lot of our supporters have said this in the past. It's everyone else, right? Oh, AD got to be better. Oh, Kevin Love and Kyrie got to be better. Oh, Bosh got to be better. Wade got to be better. It's never really Bron. It's everyone else that's the issue. If he goes to Golden State and they don't win, I can guarantee you. You know, Trip, when I do the 401k pick of the week, when I tell you could gamble on this because I know it's going to hit, I can't 401k pick of the week. No one would ever blame Steph if that duo didn't work out. No one would say, oh, this is Steph's fault, it's not working. It would be Bron's fault. And Bron would never allow that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Oh, yeah, absolutely right. Let me go to Mike Merrill's question. We're in the messy section of the questions right now. Why everyone calling Shannon Sharp gay? What was y'all initial thoughts of him and Epps going at it? And isn't Mace going at him too what Unc be doing. First of all, y'all leave Shannon Sharp alone. Leave Unc alone. He out here grinding. He out here doing this thing. Shout out to Shannon Sharp. That Cat Williams interview about to hit 60 million. Okay, he's doing this thing right now. I'm happy for Shannon Sharp. Mike Epps, thankfully, they squashed their beef. Um, I didn't really think Mike Epps was ready to square up with Shannon Sharp. No way. But they had conversations as men, which I love. Setting the right example on how you work out disputes and disagreements. They had a conversation and that smoothed everything out with them. As far as with the Mace got to relax. In this situation, he doing too much because you can't talk to somebody about who they getting into and what they doing and what they not doing when your co-host has lyrics in the songs that says "Ask Mace he ran to Atlanta." So you can't, you know what I mean? Like I don't think you're the one to in this situation because you had some issues and you went and joined the church to get away from those issues. You went all the way across the country. So I don't think Mason in this situation is necessarily the person who should be stepping into this kind of business.
I think Mace initially intended to be funny and it just missed its mark.
Yeah.
I want to know why Mike put the underscore but still spelled out gay. I don't understand why he did that. But I thought you put the underscore because you was going like try to not spell it out. But anyway, listen, in terms of why everybody's saying that about Shannon Sharp, success brings haters. And Shannon Sharp has been very successful for a very long time. And we also got to call it what it is. Now that he's in this media space and he's starting to really gain traction and dominate, because Club Shay Shay, you saw the numbers that the Cat Williams interview did. You see that he's on First Take now. They're going to be people who don't like the level of success he has. They're going to be people who are going to wonder how is he able to do it with that deep Southern drawl and the things he talks about. So I think I attribute that more to hate than anything. The Mike Epps thing, I'm glad they did speak it out because to me that just seemed like a complete misunderstanding. Mike Epps was making jokes about the interview. Shannon Sharp took it personally and said some things back, and I'm glad. But at the same time, I agree with you, Trip. I don't think they was ever going to like square up, but I don't think Mike Epps was going to back down either because Mike Epps let it be known that the All-Star game's in my hometown. I'm going to be there. So at some point we're going to cross paths, and I'm glad they were able to talk it out and move forward because it was all unnecessary. It's all unnecessary.
Mike Epps got certain affiliations too, so
right. That's what I'm saying. Mike Epps, even though Shannon Sharp obviously is a muscular guy who keeps himself in great shape, Mike Epps got some ties outside as well. Like let's not pretend like Mike Epps wasn't outside before he became a well-known comedian.
Yeah, exactly. And let me just say this because one of the other things that Mace was saying is picking your battles. You didn't do anything to Skip Bayless and. We're talking about apples and oranges when you're talking about him being on a major network on a platform to where if let's just say when Skip is like, "Oh, put your glasses back on," because that's the example we use. If Shannon Sharp reaches across the table and Cole knocks Skip Bayless out, which he could have, we don't see Shannon Sharp on First Take now.
No,
that doesn't happen. Club Shay Shay or Nightcap with Ocho, those are platforms that Shannon Sharp owns. So if I go back and forth with somebody on my own platform that I own, I'm not stopping the bag. But again, if I not Skip Bayless out in this moment, I don't get the bag that I get from First Take. I don't get that. Most likely, I'm not on another major network anytime in the foreseeable future. So, there's a thing called picking your battles, knowing when to hold them, knowing when to fold them. And again, it ain't what Skip said to him was disrespectful, but it wasn't like, I mean, Mike Epps is insulting his manhood. That's what I'm saying? Like in a, for a when as a heterosexual male, somebody try either flat out saying or trying to imply that you're homosexual, that's a whole different kind of ball game we're dealing with now. So yeah, I gotta address that in a different way. You talking about as far as me, my level of play and my talent level where it's at. Yeah, obviously And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, we know what it is. We know his Shannon Sharp's a Hall of Famer, but that's really two different things and two different platforms where he's just not going to do that because he's smarter. That's basically what it boils down to. I'm smart. I'm not going to be on Fox, on FS1, one of the biggest platforms in the country, and go crazy because I'm not going to be working on any of these platforms across the board because nobody is tolerating that.
That's a
So,
fact.
you
That's a
know,
fact. And we also got to remember Shannon Sharp's history in the sports commentary business. He was with CBS Sports on the pregame show. He lost that gig. And he fought to get himself to First Things First. He fought to get himself on that type of platform. So you don't jeopardize that just because of a little dispute with your co-host. And as you mentioned, that's not his platform. You're on somebody else's platform right now because that is Skip Bayless's platform. And so you could be as mad as you want, you treat how you want to treat it, but you still got to uphold a certain level of professionalism in that space.
yeah,
I don't think that changes who Shannon Sharp is. And I promise you, when they got off the air, I'm sure he put Skip in his place off camera. So
yeah,
let's not pretend like everything was fine after that because it wasn't. Because shortly after that, the rumors had already started that Shannon Sharp wasn't going to renew his contract and leave. So Shannon Sharp, I think, played it the best way he could. For Mace to bring that up is a bit of a low blow because we know that Mace, for as successful as he's been in business and in the music industry, he's only in a position he's in right now with It Is What It Is because of Cam. If Cam chooses any other co-host, the show still has success.
yeah. And nobody
So
makes like they weren't before the show.
right. Like Mace wasn't bubbling before the show. So Mace, I mean, Cam could have gone in a million different directions with a co-host. He chose Mace. And if push came to shove, and if Shannon Sharp expressed to Cam like, yo, I would love to co-host a show with you, I guarantee you Cam would choose Shannon Sharp over Mace just because of the credibility that it would bring him in that space. So
Absolutely.
and again, that's not a knock on Mace, but like, don't bring up something that happened to Shannon Sharp when you could not even hang in that same space.
Yeah.
Mace ain't getting no offers from FS1. He not getting no offers from ESPN. So
Period.
you can't even hang in that space.
Exactly. So it is what it is. Let me see this one. I like this one. Rich Dre. Did y'all like the Curry versus Sabrina? Might have been the best part of Saturday, to be real. Honestly, I agree. I agree 1,000%. I thought that was so dope. Obviously we know Steph Curry won, but shout out to Sabrina Ionescu who lost by 3. That's New York right there, baby. So I love that. I want to see the rematch next year though. Because 3 is very close. So I need to see that rematch. And she still got the record for most threes made too. So I want to see that rematch happen.
Steph had to get hot on his final rack to win that. I thought it was impressive by Sabrina because we all leading up to it, she was supposed to shoot from the WNBA 3-point line. And then the week of, she said, no, I'm gonna shoot from the NBA 3-point line just to make it fair.
Yeah.
And she had the same score that Dame had to win the men's 3-point competition. So she did more than hold her own. And
Yes.
it was the best part of Saturday night because it was the most competitive of the events in the skill competition.
Yep, I agree. Uh Janetta Johnson, what's up? Did y'all see what the female rapper Glorilla said about Dame Lillard? It's apparent she don't know who she took a pic with him and was like, "Who is he?" It was like, "I want him." LOL. Dame getting a divorce. Go ahead and knock it out.
Well, did
Hello.
she say? Did she say who is he, or did she say whose man is this?
She's I literally saw the post on Instagram.
Well,
But
I'm
she
gonna
was
look
like
it up because
or something
I
like that.
I thought she said whose man is this.
I think she
Let me
was trying
see
to holler.
something. Yeah,
Shout out to Glorilla, man. I
yeah.
rock her.
She said this is a family program, so I got clean up. She said who is this? So she didn't say who is he, and she said because
Yeah,
I want him.
because she want,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause she want. So
So
shout out to
I think she knew who he was. I mean, he holding the All-Star Game MVP trophy. So I'm
yeah,
sure she heard his name over the loudspeaker several times throughout the night.
yeah. She probably don't watch. See, even though Dame is a household name, but he's not a household name in the sense of like if it was LeBron, she knows LeBron. If it was a Steph Curry, she knows a Steph Curry. You know what I mean? So
No,
I
I
think
mean, I think
she
she knew who he was. She didn't say who is he. She said who is this. Like
Well, she
who
gonna
got him?
man,
Yeah,
listen,
that's
you
yeah,
might do what you got to do, player.
right. Yeah. So I think she knew who he was. And I'm not going to like try to criticize Glow's sports expertise because she knew who Mike Tomlin was.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, so she got a little, yeah. So she
So
know
she
what's
got a
up.
little bit of sports knowledge. You know what I'm saying? There was that video circulating that she was excited to meet Mike Tomlin because she said she was a fan of his. So
Yeah,
she knows some people in the mix.
facts, facts. And I thank you, Jeanette. I appreciate that. I see you said R.I.P. to my pops. I appreciate that. Imani, I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to your question at the end of the show. I'm gonna save that for my final thought. Let me see. Hoop baller scoop. On my page, I said Caitlin Clark is one of the best college players of all time.
Here we
But I said
go.
at the table with Cheryl Miller, Maya Moore, Dan Taurasi, Candace Parker, Shamika Holscott, maybe Griner. She to me would need a national title, but Eric Sanchez kind of challenged me. So
Here we
Eric,
go.
remember she is one of the best ever again. Um, let me say this. I do think they rank a guy like Allen Iverson a lot higher if he has just one championship ring. So there are a lot of people who really stress you have to have won a championship. I understand that's where they're going to come from with this aspect. However, I even though I do put a lot of onus on winning championships, I do understand that basketball is a team sport, and sometimes it's damn near impossible to win a championship, whether you're the best player in the league or in the nation or not.
Okay. Shout out to Hoopballer Scoop because Hoopballer Scoop, I will not deny you are one of our greatest supporters, and we greatly appreciate it. I personally greatly appreciate it because you always check for not only our Real Fans Real Talk show, whether it's on Sunday or Mondays, but also the Friday Night Live at the Sanchez show. But for clarity, I want the people to understand the exact post and my response. Your post was Caitlin Clark has to win a title to stamp herself up there with the greatest. Cheryl Miller, Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker, Maya Moore, Cheryl Swoops, Shamika Holsclaw, Brianna Stewart. My response to that was, it's crazy that this has become the way we view and analyze sports. We're in this space of you can't be great unless you win a championship. We no longer can appreciate an individual's talent. Doesn't matter that she led her team as a Cinderella last year to a championship, right? So my point still stands. We have become so consumed with wanting to label somebody as the greatest ever, or where do they rank greatest of all time, that we no longer appreciate what they're doing in the moment. All those young women that you mentioned at the time, they've grown women now, obviously, they were young women at that time during their college careers. Look at the programs they played at. Those are powerhouse programs that they are playing at with other 4 and 5-star recruits. We're talking about the Connecticuts of the world, the Tennessees of the world, the USCs of the world, right? These are the elite of the elite programs in college women's basketball, where they are not only the only star, they are surrounded by other stars. Caitlin Clark is playing at Iowa. There is nobody else on her team that will be in the WNBA.
Yeah.
They were the Cinderella underdog team last year, and she did for them what Steph Curry did for Davidson when he was there, when he led them on a run. The only thing is she took it to the next level because Steph Curry didn't make the championship game. She led them to a championship game. Not only did she lead them to a championship game, she played well in all of those games. None of her teammates carried her. If she doesn't play well, they probably get eliminated in the second round of the tournament. But she led them there with her play. And yet we are now trying to minimize her greatness to just the aspect of, well, she has to win a championship. And to me, that is unfair. In college, you only get 4 years to try to win a championship. And if you are not surrounded by some of the best players in the country, you will not really get an opportunity. And yet somehow Caitlin Clark led her team to a place that I don't think a lot of these other women could do. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I don't think they could do it if they didn't have the same talent around them that equaled their own talent. So to me, Caitlin Clark is great already. If you want to rank her as not the best of all time, that's no disrespect because there can only be one GOAT, right? Everybody can't be the GOAT. But to say, again, the statement was, in order for her to be great, she has to win a championship. I think that is completely unfair. There are a lot of greats in every sport who never win a championship. And we don't sit there and say, well, they're not great. It affects you as trying to be the greatest of all time, right? Like Charles Barkley is a NBA great. Is he the
Yes.
greatest power forward of all time? No, because his resume doesn't stack up. But is he a great? Absolutely. And he never won a championship at college or the NBA. Is Karl Malone an NBA great? Despite what we feel about him personally, Trip, we got to put that to the side. But
Yeah.
as an NBA player, is he an all-time great? Absolutely. Is he the greatest power forward? No, he's not the greatest power forward because his resume doesn't match up.
And that's
Caitlin
why I
Clark,
started with AI. That's why I started with AI.
right.
Because
AI, the same thing. Is AI an all-time great? Yes. Is he the greatest shooting guard? No. Caitlin Clark is a great. Same way that Steph Curry was a great in college. They are great. If you want to say they're not all-time greats, fine, but they are greats.
yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Caitlin Clark because she did just break the all-time scoring record. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's
Right.
that.
There's also that.
So she still did. She had to break in the all-time scoring record, and then still win a national championship to be considered great. Like, come on, man. Y'all gotta relax, man. Give the young ladies her just due. Give her flowers now. She is an all-time great. Where she ranks on the all-time list of all-time greatest, I don't know. I gotta do the
Right.
math, but she is an all-time great. It is what it is. All right. Ron Charles, Jason Tatum. Why isn't the MVP ladder lead? I'm sorry. Why isn't he the MVP leader? He has the best record in playing MVP ball. I was joking ahead, and his team's like third or fourth. And where do you both have Tatum in the race? I think what happens with Tatum is a lot of the voters look into the stats, right? So when you see Jokic averaging damn near a triple double, a guy like Giannis averaging a double double, or a guy like Embiid who's averaging a double double. That's things a lot of the cats look for. Um, and I think the MVP voters are still kind of on the fence about Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics because they haven't gotten it done yet. They got to the finals, lost to Golden State. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's just unfortunately there's a lot of factors that they're not pushing him ahead right now. And again, he doesn't have the individual numbers. Like is he leading the league in scoring right now? 'Cause I think for a guy like Jason Tatum, he's gonna have to do that for them to really give him that push as a legitimate MVP candidate, unless they win a championship first.
So I think Tatum is having a great season. Um, this question was posed on Friday, and as I said on Friday, 27, 8, and 4 for Jason Tatum. He's the best player on the team with the best record. He deserves to be in the conversation. Should he be leading that conversation? Absolutely not. Because as you mentioned, the Joker, who's averaging 26, 12, and 9, also shooting 60% from the field, which is damn near unheard of. He's out there doing PlayStation type stuff. But there was also a large stretch of the season where the Nuggets, who are the defending champs and have the largest target on their back, were missing their second best player in Jamal Murray. And Joker still kept them afloat. And in terms of where would I rank Tatum, Tatum can't be any higher than third in the conversation. Because to me, it's Joker and Shea Gilgeous, 1 and 2, however you want to place them, as the top guys. And then Tatum would be 3. And Tatum really only becomes 3 now because Embiid is going to miss most of the regular season.
He's not
If
gonna qualify.
Embiid, right, and if Embiid had not gotten hurt, Embiid was making a legitimate case to be a back-to-back MVP. So Tatum will get some consideration, but Tatum has not been as impressive as the other 3 gentlemen that I've mentioned. More importantly, the 2, specifically Joker and Shea Gilgeous, who I think are having better seasons than Jason Tatum.
Yeah, it is what it is. Let's get these last couple of questions in out of the way. Speaking of the dunk contest, was Vince Carter's 2000 performance the best ever? Um, I want to say yes, and I think I am saying yes, but I do want to just note that the Zach LaVine,
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon war was crazy as well. Um, but I think when when you think about Vince Carter putting his arm in that net, boy, I think that dunk that contest was so freaking iconic. I mean, I think personally for me, Vince is always going to be the king of the dunk contest. And this is based off of that and the Olympics. Like for me, he's always going to be that guy. So I'm gonna say yes. But I do want to say I think a 1B would be that combination of Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, their wars.
The Gordon Levine is a classic. That was probably the one time we all probably would have been okay with the tie
Yes.
in the finals. But what makes the Vince performance so iconic is obviously the arm and the rim, but the competition. When you look back at that dunk contest and you look at some of the dunks that McGrady and Steve Francis were doing, like in any other year, one of those guys could have won. That's how good that Vince Carter was, that it overshadowed their great performance as well. So that's why
Yes.
to me it stands out, because it was it was at a time when we needed the dunk contest to be saved, and Vince did that. But it was also because the competition rose to the occasion as well. Francis and McGrady were really trying to beat Vince, and they were pulling out some crazy dunks. I encourage everybody, go look back at some of the dunks that Francis and McGrady were doing. They were some crazy joints. It was just that Vince was just on another level that night.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, oh my goodness, Steve Francis.
Steve Francis at 6'2", 6'3", the dunks he was doing, crazy.
Yeah, you gotta get that man his flowers as well. Hoopballer Scoop says the Warriors before the break have been on a roll. They lost to the Clippers, I think. Yes. So what's the key to their turnaround? Helps to have Draymond back and Curry going nuts. But Kaminga, where did this man come from? Now, if they get Chris Paul back soon, they can make some noise. Well, Kaminga was there. He had been there. He just wasn't getting the playing time that he needed. Now he's getting more playing time and he's showcasing his talent level. But as far as their turnaround goes, I'm gonna say a couple of things. One is health. They have to stay healthy. Two is Draymond Green has to stop getting suspended. And I think, he's been back. I think Chris Paul, they're gonna need to have Chris Paul back at some point. I think he's gonna still give them a boost later in the season as long as he can come back and stay healthy. And then the last part of that is understanding when it's time to say we have to get past the loyalty of the name and say we're going to put the best basketball players in the moment on the court. And I think, what's been going on with Clay, I think they're finally, because I've seen there was a couple of games where he was benched in the fourth quarter. I just think that, at some point we have to get past all right, this is not Game 6 Clay, who has 4
Mhm.
championships with the Golden State Warriors. This is Clay Thompson, who's past his prime, has dealt with a couple of major injuries, and is not the same player that he was when we won our last championship. You know what I'm saying? And definitely not what he was when we were really in our peak. And you have to make the hard decisions sometimes. And I think those combination of things is what's been helping the Warriors turn around.
Yeah, I mean, Kaminga, I think his progression is more about just him finding his niche a little bit. He had to take some bumps in the road, and it's never easy when you're a young guy playing on a team that has title aspirations. But he's figured out his role, and he's played really well now. But for the Warriors, I think this is that time of year. Veteran teams start to pick it up as you go into the second half of the year. I know we got a question coming about the Lakers, and they're kind of in the same boat. The veteran teams aren't playing for the 82 game season. They could care less where they land as long as they make the playoffs, because they feel like if they're healthy and they get into the playoffs, they can be a legitimate threat. So I think that's where the Warriors find themselves right now. They're finding their stride as they go into the second half and the stretch run of the season. Chris Paul coming back could be very tricky for them because on the surface, it looks good. But realistically and historically, this team has been better when Draymond is running the point for them. And we know Draymond and Chris Paul both can't be on the floor together. It's just too many limitations offensively. So Steve Kerr will have some challenges if they can get Chris Paul back and figuring out how to stagger the minutes, because I like what they're doing right now. And you're right, Draymond, I think, is kind of cooled it, and he understands that he's got to be more accountable for this team to have a chance. He can't be the veteran hothead who's getting thrown out of games, or like other guys have teased him about, like every time Steph ain't playing, you trying to get kicked out the game because you don't want to be out there no more. So he got to be a true veteran leader. I think the Warriors, we're going to continue to see them play well as the second half of the season goes on.
Facts. All right, it's gonna be the last one we take. I'm gonna get in mind this question too. Justin Frizione. So what's the Lakers gonna do or be the second half of the year? They're gonna continue to improve. They're gonna continue to gel. Guys are gonna continue to get into their bag now that the craziness of the trade deadline is gone, and we know, all right, everyone is here, is going to be here, so it's time to put your big boy pants on and continue to improve. Shout out to D'Angelo Russell because he played himself out of being traded. Simple as that. Like he really did. He played himself out of being traded. So big shout out to him. But yeah, I think Eric, you said they're a team that's playing for the playoffs. I think they're going to continue to build on that chemistry and work on staying healthy going into the playoffs.
I agree. I think that, again, the Lakers are in that same boat where they just want to be healthy and they're going to be fine. They won 3 in a row leading into the All-Star break. I think that'll continue. They'll be fine moving forward. It's just all about them trying to be healthy come playoff time.
Eric, you want to give us a final thought, and then I'll answer Imani's question and get ready to sign us out.
Yeah, final thought again. Shout out to all the supporters. Happy to have my man Trip Yung back. We back and rolling, man. And I want to say again, continue to support. Tune in Friday night. We got some great things coming up Friday night as we're going to dive into some of our favorite Super Bowls, as well as any questions and comments. We might get some movie topics going on. Trip, you're going to be coming on a Friday night live soon because I got a specific topic we're going to bring you on for. But again, we appreciate you guys, and I'm looking forward to continuing to interact with you guys.
Yes, I will definitely be there. Let me throw Imani's comment up. Shout out to Imani again. Trip, tell us about your father. What kind of man was he? And what are you going to miss most about him? Rest in peace to him also. I think I was, and this is something I said at his funeral service. My pops was dope because he had a relationship with a lot of my friends. As young men, we go through the ringer. We with the it's, we doing a lot of stuff that's crazy. But one thing about my step pops is he never gave up on a young black man, and I thought that was really dope about him. Just the relationship that he had with us. What I'm gonna miss most about him. There's a lot of things I'm gonna miss, but I think one of the things, and this is something I spoke about with my cousin a lot. Like, one of the things I will miss the most is when the Knicks was on that 9-game win streak. They lost to the Lakers, and I think that was that loss came maybe like a couple of days, excuse me, before we had the funeral service for my pop. So that would have been a situation where the next morning I would have been calling my pops talking crazy, like, yeah, you see, Bron, stop that little streak of yours. You know what I'm saying? So I think things like that I'll miss the most about my pops. You know what I mean? Just that, and just just the guidance and the wisdom that he always gave me. I always appreciated that, and the support. Because one thing, we don't always get the support that we should get from the people that we love the most and that are closest to us. And he was very adamant about, with me, letting me know that he always supported everything that I did as far as, with my film journey and TV and everything that we're doing here. He always showed me that support. So that, I'm definitely going to miss about him. And again, thank you, Imani, because she was one of the supporters that hit me up during the week, and just send some love and support over. So I do want to send her a big shout out for that. And before I do close this out, let me just shout out another family member to the show, Bruce Shushu Carrington, the number 10 ranked featherweight, according to ESPN. Another early knockout. Eric, you can go get dinner early. You like to go get dinner early, make reservations during the during the shoe fights. So he had a early KO of Bernard Torres, and that was his first co-main event too. That fight actually went down in New York as well. And I know it's something that we first spoke about here on Real Fans Real Talk. We kind of put that in the atmosphere, and they are talking about Shushu uh getting that first title shot this year. And when he came on the show, not this last time, but the time before that, that was something that myself and Eric were saying that was going to happen for him, and that was getting that title shot a lot sooner than he even thought that he would get the title shot. And I was reading an article today on ESPN, and they were talking about him getting a title shot this year. So congratulations to Bruce Carrington. Um, we definitely gonna keep supporting for you, keep pulling for you. I spoke to him earlier today, so he is gonna get back with us soon. It's a little crazy right now, but we got to show that love to the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Shushu. We not only talked about him being a champion, we talked about how bright his future is, and his year is off to a great start. He was the 2023 Prospect of the Year, and now this year, again, starting off with a highlight knockout that was on ESPN's Top 10. So shout out to him.
Absolutely. All right, man. With that being said, make sure y'all following us on all our social media, man. Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/, Real Fans Real Talk. Subscribe to that YouTube channel as well. Let me throw the YouTube up on there because they be acting up. YouTube.com/, For the Fans Productions. And if you are not in the New York City area and you can't watch us on Verizon 43 Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m., do not worry. All you got to do is go to the website, realfansrealtalk.com, and click that red button on the homepage, and you can watch us from anywhere in the world. And make sure, and I know y'all are already, but I still gotta say, we get new supporters every week. Make sure y'all following the Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast, streaming on all major platforms right now. We are dropping content every week on both of those podcasts. So make sure y'all stay in the loop with that one. And I was thinking about it today because I was just like, I appreciate you guys so much. I'm gonna get with Eric and we're gonna have a conversation. I want to do a little giveaway for the supporters. So I'm gonna talk to Eric about it, see how we want to work that out. Maybe it might be a boardroom experience with us. Maybe it might be a donation from the beautiful people over at Soundview Liquors who sponsor Real Fans Real Talk. But whatever it is, we both say every week how much we appreciate you guys, and I feel like we should take some time and just show you guys, do a little give back. So I think we're gonna do a giveaway very soon for you guys. All right. So with that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games, we up out of here. Peace.